Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the intense and honestly super common anxiety surrounding choosing a college major. We're going to uncover the really empowering reality of today's skills-based job market. So if you've ever laid awake at night completely stressing out about your degree, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into the truth behind choosing majors.
Let's just start by validating a very real pain point. Are you terrified you picked the wrong major? There is an immense, almost suffocating pressure placed on 18-year-olds to somehow just know themselves. We expect young students to pick a single academic path before they've even lived independently, a path that seemingly dictates their entire future. It's an incredibly unrealistic expectation, right?
And I really love this insight from My Decisive Learning. It says identity is not fixed at 18, 19, or even 22. The major often helps shape the identity, not the other way around. It reminds us that choosing a major is just a starting direction. It's not a lifelong destiny, and it is certainly not a test of a fully formed identity. You don't need to have yourself completely figured out to make a good choice. You're growing. The college experience itself is part of discovering that identity, not proving it. Think of your major as your starting coordinates, not your final destination.
Okay, moving into part one, the perfect major myth.
To really wrap our heads around this, we need to break down the myth of the flawless path. Families or just external pressures in general often push us toward the idea that you absolutely must pick a quote-unquote safe degree like business or nursing. Why? Because they believe one major equals one specific career. But as you can see here, the reality is quite different. The truth is, most careers out there just don't require a specific major. Ultimately, the skills you build matter vastly more than the label printed on your degree.
Section 2, Job Market Realities. Now, while it's nice to say majors don't define you, graduates still face very real frustrations when hitting the pavement to find a job. Take this direct quote from an exasperated ex-journalist on a Reddit jobs forum. He had been laid off, had a kid on the way, and was facing a brutal series of setbacks. He really felt his English degree might be holding him back, asking, "At the end of my rope, I just want to work. As a guy with a BA in English, what options do I have?" This perfectly grounds our explainer in the very human anxiety of job hunting. It's a terrifying feeling for sure.
But let's immediately relieve some of that tension. According to data from Skillset Group, there are dozens of high-paying, in-demand jobs that simply require any foundational bachelor's degree. Look at this list. We're talking project managers making around $65,000 a year, financial analysts pulling in $90,000, account managers at $70,000. None of these roles require a hyper-specific major. Employers for these roles value the critical thinking, problem-solving, and communication skills that a foundational degree demonstrates, rather than the specific subject matter you studied. The takeaway? Your options are far wider than your specific major suggests.
Let's look at Section 3, the skills-based hiring shift.
So let's dive into the massive systemic shift happening right now. Look at this number, 20,000. According to a report from the National Governors Association, the Federal Office of Personnel Management grew the use of their USA Hires skills-based assessments from just 18 announcements back in 2011 to over 20,000 in 2024. That is huge. They're actively transitioning tens of thousands of roles, like IT management and AI specialists, to be fully skills-based.
And what's really amazing is that it's not just the federal government doing this. Employers are increasingly looking for competencies over specific degrees. In fact, over half of state and territory governments in the U.S. have enacted policies to remove strict educational requirements. Why? Well, because they recognize a major flaw in traditional hiring. Inferring a candidate's competence based solely on their college degree dramatically limits the talent pool. Skills are highly predictive of actual job performance, so they're prioritizing a holistic review of a candidate's work experience and non-degree credentials instead.
Which brings us to Section 4, breaking into new industries.
So you might be wondering how you actually break into these lucrative industries, like tech or data, if your major was completely unrelated. Well, the answer lies in targeted upskilling. As highlighted by the University of Cincinnati, tech isn't just for computer science majors anymore. Earning a Google Data Analytics certificate on Coursera can help you pivot to data science. The Meta Front-End certificate opens doors to software engineering, or the CompTIA A+ credential can get you right into tech support. These low-cost, self-paced certifications prove to employers that you have the practical, modern skills they need right now.
And hey, this applies strongly to the business world too. A report from Coursera points out that you don't necessarily need a specialized business degree to become a project manager. Earning credentials like the Project Management Professional, or PMP, or the entry-level CAPM proves your competence to employers just as effectively. It clearly demonstrates you've amassed the robust skill set necessary to lead teams and handle complex projects. No business degree required. Moving on to Section 5, harnessing your transferable skills. Figuring out what skills you actually have to offer brings us to your ultimate secret weapon, transferable skills. San Diego State University defines these as portable skills. These are competencies you acquire through classes, volunteer work, or campus activities that you deliberately pack up and take with you to your next workplace setting. It is essentially impossible to complete college without acquiring these. Whether you're an English major analyzing complex literature or a student athlete learning intense teamwork, you have built highly valuable, portable skills. SDSU breaks these down into 3 main subsets: working with people, working with things, and working with data or information. Think about it. If you've ever organized a club event and successfully managed the chaos when the pizza arrived an hour late, you've used people skills like motivating and negotiating. If you've written a senior thesis, you've used data skills like researching, analyzing, and editing. These are exactly the competencies employers are desperate for. You just have to know how to talk about them.
To that end, here is a concrete 3-step framework from SDSU to help you identify and market your skills. First, list every job, internship, and campus activity you've done. Second, list your classes in your major and electives. Finally, and this is absolutely crucial, write an action sentence for each, but without using the word learned. Present your skills directly as verifiable qualifications.
Let's look at exactly what this means in practice. On the left, saying I learned how to market events kind of frames you as a passive student. But on the right, saying I developed and coordinated the marketing of club events shifts the narrative entirely. Now you're an active, competent professional. You are highlighting the specific action you took and the transferable skill you utilized. It's a total game changer.
It all comes down to how you frame your journey. Your major is just one tool in a much larger toolkit. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If your major doesn't define you, and we've seen clearly today that it doesn't, what skills will you choose to define yourself? Stop stressing over the specific title on your diploma and start focusing on the powerful, portable skills you are building right now. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy skill building.